to Tech and Metronics. Today we are going to be talking about generative AI. Generative what? AI. I'm going to dive deep into generative AI. How it works. How does this AI create images? Ooh, you just see an image, you write a prompt, and the AI creates an image. You're complicated. Ooh, how does this AI do this thing? You want to know. Today I'm going to dive deep. What is generative AI? How it works and its application. Right. Okay. First, what is generative AI? Now, one of the latest buzzword in the tech world is generative artificial intelligence. Now, I want to let you know. Now, generative AI is a subset of artificial intelligence that allows machines to learn from data, understand its patterns, and generate new data that's similar to the input data, but not an exact copy. Now, it's like, teaching a computer to write a poem after analyzing thousands of poems. Now, its own creation, but it's based on its understanding of the content it has seen. So it creates its own creation by the understanding of the contents it has already seen. Now, generative AI has the potential to revolutionize various industries, including art, music, and design. By enabling machines to create original content, it opens up new possibilities for creativities and innovations. Imagine a world where AI can create unique, symphonies, paint breathtaking masterpiece or design, good architectures. Generative AI is a fascinating field that combines the power of machine learning, deep learning, and neural networks. It encompasses a wide range of techniques, including generative adversarial networks called the GAN, that's generative adversarial networks, and number 2 is the variational autoencoders called the VAEs. Now, and recurrent neural networks called the RNNs. So those are their acronyms: the GANs, RNNs, and the VAEs. Now, one of the key aspects of generative AI is that its ability to capture the essence of the input data and generate new samples that adhere to the learned patterns. This process involves statistical modeling, probabilistic reasoning, and sophisticated algorithms that enables machines to understand and replicate the underlying structures of the data. For example, in the domain of image generation, generative AI can analyze a large data set of images and learn the common features and patterns. It can then generate new images that passes similar characteristics such as objects, textures, and colors, but are entirely unique and never seen before. Now I'm going to explain how does generative AI works. How does this AI generate images? I know you want to know about that. Now, generative AI operates on complex algorithms and works on the concept of unsupervised learning. And remember, I told you unsupervised learning is working on unlabeled data. You understand? This means that instead of teaching the machine specific tasks, it's giving the freedom to learn from raw data. So you don't have to teach the machine to do this or that. You understand? So it's giving the freedom to learn from what? Raw data. Now, through a process of trial and error method, that's how it's been done. Now, it can uncover patterns in data and learn how to replicate them in various ways. Okay, so it learns these patterns from this data and it will learn how to replicate them in various ways. Now, one popular technique used in generative AI is the generative adversarial networks with the acronym of GANs. Now, the GANs, which is the generative adversarial networks, consist of 2 neural networks, and number 1 is a generator and a discriminator. Now, the generator creates new samples based on random noise, while the discriminator tries to distinguish between real and generated samples. Now, during the training process, the generator and discriminator engage in a competitive game, constantly improving the ability, of the data they are learning from. Now, the generator aims to produce samples that are increasingly similar to the real data. Now, why the discriminator, becomes more adept at identifying the generated samples. So the generator, creates more samples from the large data given. It creates, increasingly similar to the real data. So, it aims to produce samples that are, similar to the real data, while the discriminator will be distinguishing differences between the real and unrealistic samples being created or generated. You understand? Now, this dynamic interplay leads to the generation of high quality realistic data. You see all those images you create with AI. So that's how it works. The generator and the discriminator, they work in hand to generate those things. Now, another approach in generative AI is called the variational autoencoders, with the acronym of VAEs. The encoders are probabilistic models, you understand, that learn the underlying distribution of the input data. They aim to encode the input data into a lower dimensional latent space and then decode it back to reconstruct the original data by sampling from the latent space. The variational autoencoders can generate new data that follows the learned distributions. So we have two ways generative AI generates these data, these realistic data. Number one, I explained about the GANs, that generative adversarial networks, and number two, the variational autoencoders. Now, applications of generative AI. What are generative AI used for? Number one is in image creation. It is used for creating photorealistic images of people, places, or objects that doesn't exist. So you create images, photos, using your prompt. And we have what's called prompt engineering. You have to understand prompt engineering to create good, images depending on what you want. Now, number two is in music composition. Composing new music pieces in various genres. So it composes new music in different genres you want. Now, number three is text generation. It writes articles, stories, poems, and scripts. I remember I explained how this happens. It's been trained on large data set, massive data set, and then it uses the patterns. It learns from the patterns, you understand, and creates something similar to what you want. So for you to be able to create poem or script, it has seen poems. It has learned from them a lot of poems, and it can give you different type of poem you want. Now, 5 is product design, creating 3D models of new products. It creates 3D models of new products. Also in drug discovery, discovering new drugs, molecules with specific properties. You understand? It learns from raw data. Okay, it's giving the opportunity to learn from raw data and now explore, create things. Okay, so that's what I can give you for generative AI. Now, our next class will be on Gemini voice recognition. How does it work? How does Gemini recognize your voice? They are going to learn that. Okay, how does this AI do this thing? It's marvelous, but I'm here to give you the hack secret on it. Thank you so much. Please like and subscribe. Thank you so much.